Okay guys, I'm out in the middle of the desert in California, in Southern California here. It's near Inyokern. Beautiful place, beautiful views of the mountains up here. And I've got my beautiful friend, Tom. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, how you doing?
I'm great. It's been a long time since we've seen each other. I think a couple years. And
yeah, it's been just over 2 years.
I was looking at this bike with you. You still got it, and it's looking fantastic. I know you just cleaned it a little bit, right, for this, but how's it working for you?
It works great. I have had no major problems with it.
No major problems, and no one's stolen it.
No.
Right? Okay, well, that's the topic for this review. I get contacted by different companies that say, hey, we have bike accessories. Will you review it? And sometimes I'm like, nah, but this one looked really, really cool. It's called the Boomerang. It's from, well, actually, Boomerang's the company, and Cyclotrack, I think, is the name of this device from them. So it's anti-theft, alarm, GPS. It has motion detection. It has mapping. It gives you a lot of feedback, kind of like Strava does. And in order to use this thing, you need bottle cage bosses. You guys know how I'm always like, bottle cage bosses, like, check it out. Tom has bottle cage bosses right here on his trike, so we could mount this right there. It would fit perfectly. They say that this is the same size as one of the taller bottles. So if you have a bike that has bottle cage bosses, specifically an electric bike, which tends to be a little bit more expensive, it might attract some unwanted attention, this could be an awesome product for you. Comes with these special security screws, so they have a star pattern with a little hole in the middle. And I think that's kind of neat. It's just an extra level of protection, and when you're living out here in the country, you got a fence, hopefully no one's coming in. You even have some awesome dogs, so you've got a little bit of protection. But when you ride to town...
Well, that's where the danger is, of course.
The game changes a little bit, doesn't it?
I do chain it up to a post if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly put a wheel lock on it, too. But I've always been a little bit worried about it. Being a trike, it is a little unusual, and it does draw attention.
Yeah.
So I like the Boomerang idea myself.
Well, the idea is really fascinating. It weighs like 1/3 of a pound, so you're not going to add a ton of weight. It charges with micro USB, but it has a really nice rubber coating on the base and on top. And I think that's just going to help to dampen vibrations on this thing. The box actually says Verizon on it, which is, based on marketing and stuff that I've seen, one of the better networks to get a ton of coverage, and that's sort of peace of mind, because this is a GPS unit, and you do actually have to pay a monthly fee in order to use it, and it's about $5. They usually charge you quarterly, so every few months you pay $15. The Boomerang itself is $199. If you pay $275, you get 2 years worth of GPS service. Okay, so GPS is one half of this. The other half of it is kind of that motion detection piece they were talking about. So it's sort of deterrence. If this is on your bike, you use an app and you arm it, and then someone moves your bike, it can kind of detect that movement. It starts to chirp, and it's like, dee, 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 and it sends you a text alert. So if you're in the coffee shop or something, maybe you're in Walmart and you're getting some supplies, and you get that text message, someone out there has either bumped your bike at the bike rack, or maybe they were tampering with it, trying to steal your wheels, or maybe even take the whole bike, and you can kind of come out and be like, hey, what's the deal, And
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Hopefully it would deter them from taking further action. And again, if they do, then it updates, and you can actually see on the GPS, the application, which works for iOS and Android, you can see like a little dot path, like, uh-oh, they're going over to my neighbor's house. Like, what the heck? It's in the hay bales or something over there. Right. So it's a really neat concept, I think. And what, a lot of this, it's like, just don't be the weakest link. And it does flash, you can see right now there's this little flashing light on there. They say it can go 10 hours. It takes, 4 to 6 hours to charge, but leaving it outside in the extreme cold or the extreme heat, this is a plastic shell. Over time, that might it's just a little bit vulnerable. And you actually store your trike inside, right, Tom?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so in your case, it's like, well, whatever. It's going to be inside where it's a little bit warmer anyway, maybe a little bit more protected from the elements. And it comes in sort of a grayish-white color as well. So if you didn't want the black, on your bike, the black looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think it matches the bike great, and it won't get in the way of pedaling at all.
Yeah, it's real narrow, and they even on their literature, the screws that they give you are a little bit taller. So the idea is you can still mount a bottle cage on top of that, so it's not completely taking up that space. And for the people that don't have bottle cage bosses, they have a little bracket. So it's like a plastic shim kind of thing, and it clamps. So back here behind one of your panniers, you could clamp it to this rack if you wanted. But I think a lot of times the idea is put it right there where people can see it. They can see it flashing, and they're going to be like, what the heck is that? I have never seen something like that, and they just don't want to mess with it.
Personally, I'd like it to show.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. And it says right on it, I believe it says it's a anti-theft device.
Yep. Boomerang, anti-theft, GPS. I think a lot of the applications are for rentals. I think they've been using this at Stanford University. The company is based in Northern California. And then they've got some in El Paso, right near the border with Mexico. So everyone who rents a bike, they're like, okay, beep, and it starts tracking, and you're like, maybe I'm not going to steal this bike,
Right.
And it's parked at the rack. And I don't know if I'd go chasing someone into Mexico over a bike, but it's just kind of neat that, again, you're not the weakest link, that you've got some of that feedback. You can see your rides. You can even see a heat map. So there's Rocket Electrics. They're a bike rental shop in Austin, Texas, and they've got a whole bunch of bikes that they'd rent, and they even do tours. But when you rent it on your own, over time, they can see like, wow, over the course of 100 rentals, people always go to West 6th or something. That's a popular space. Maybe we should make a new tour in West 6th because that's where everyone gravitates towards. That's really neat. It definitely goes beyond security. It's a pretty high-tech device. There were a lot of questions I had about this thing when I was calling the company and trying to get it figured out. I've listed some of the other URLs because there's actually an online app URL, then there's the official website, then there's the app and what it's called, where to find it, that kind of stuff, just so you could get into this because it's still a $200 thing. And I think I've sort of had this tendency to feel like, is it a gimmick, the GPS stuff, or is it going to be really expensive? But $5 a month, you compare that to bicycle insurance where you're paying $40 a month or more depending on what bikes you have, and then your bike gets stolen eventually or something happens to it and you get dropped or the insurance goes up. I'm not trying to be a hater. I actually use Velosurance myself, but I prefer not to have the bike stolen in the first place. For a while it was like, do you want to hide it in your seat post or something like that? But then the aluminum kind of interferes. It's not going to track as well, and you kind of lose the visibility.
Yeah, I like the visibility. I also like that it has the elevation gain and loss.
Cool.
And all the mapping it does, I think, is pretty cool. Just a fun thing to have in addition to some security.
So you might be wondering, Court, why aren't you screwing it onto the bike and using it and showing it? And that is because, unfortunately, we're in one of the regions of the country where Verizon actually doesn't have great coverage. This is an AT&T zone, and there's actually an AT&T model that they have it's sort of a universal, and you can use it in other countries, but it's 2G, and so this is maybe something you want to call on unless you're sure you have Verizon and it works fine. This is the model that's the most popular. I didn't know, I don't visit Tom frequently, and I wasn't sure what the mobile phone setup would be.
Verizon doesn't work at all out here.
Just doesn't work at all out here. And actually it was kind of recognizing a little bit, but not enough to do all the tracking and stuff, so I might do that separately. The other thing I want to call out about this is, you may be familiar with other little tracking things. There's something called Tile that I saw at Best Buy a while back, and you put it on your keys and it helps you find your keys or your remote, or you stick it to something and you don't lose it. That only works within 100 feet, and it requires Bluetooth. And so that's more like near field communication versus this, which is true like radio GPS. Really cool. And that for me, that was going to be one of the big things, like, even if you live way out in the middle of nowhere, this thing will work, and it should. Again, we just got the kind of the wrong version for this specific example, and I still wanted to show Tom and the great flag. I love the flag. It's looking good today.
Thanks.
Okay, now that's how it's supposed to work, right? You hear the beeping, little bit of consideration going on. Should I take this bike? You know, what's the deal? It's amazingly quick to cut cable locks, cheap cable lock that we had on this with bolt cutters, and I was surprised. You can kind of hide it pretty well in your pants or your jacket or whatever. That went pretty smoothly. No one's really around here. I probably could have stolen the bike. But it definitely gave me pause. I've never actually stolen a real bike. It's just a very interesting product, this whole Boomerang GPS thing. So let's get into the details. Like, what's the reality of the situation? What's behind this product? How does it work? So not every electric bike has bottle cage bosses, but I'm looking at the Motive Shadow here, and you know, it has 2 pairs. I really love that, and the Boomerang fits on either one. So you could put it there on the seat tube or right here on the down tube, and I think you could even flip it around in either direction, which is really nice. And you might be thinking, gosh, I only have, you know, 1 pair of bosses. What do I do then? You can actually mount a bottle cage right on top of this thing, and the screws they give you are long enough to accommodate that. So as long as you have a wide open triangle like we do here, it's probably going to be a high step like this, or maybe a curved step through, you should be fine. It's a bit of an inconvenience to try to take this thing off. You do have to charge it. It only lasts 10 hours per charge, and once it gets low, it really just kind of stops working. And at that point, you basically got to bring the bike inside or close enough to a charging outlet to reach. Now this, unfortunately, this is not the correct cable. I got it mixed up, so I want to be clear about that. But the one it comes with, I don't remember it being that long. I mean, you know, a couple feet or something. That's really close. You're plugging it into the wall. What if the bike tips and it, you know, pulls out and breaks this thing, or just, you know, gets tangled up? That's one area. I guess I would like to see a longer plug, or maybe some other alternative, maybe even like a magnetic charging port. This is $200. It's kind of a lot of money, and you don't want to get that thing damaged. At first, I thought this little charging port area was kind of messed up, and I wasn't able to plug into it real well, but it was just because of this rubber seal. I love that there's kind of a rubberized edge, so if you drop it, it might not crack the plastic. Rubber on the top where you might mount your bottle cage, rubber on the bottom, so you're not going to get a lot of vibration. It's really nice in that sense. You just have to be kind of careful with that plug, and it's not real obvious which side is up and which side is down. In fact, it might even kind of be flipped. So using the micro USB just took a little extra care. Okay, we're doing another test. I've activated the Boomerang. You can see it's flashing red right there. We'll move it around. Cameron's taking it, and we're gonna track him on the phone. Now it didn't beep. That was kind of interesting. I think it's taking a minute. You know, you can see it's flashing and it's tracking. There we go. Now it knows it's been stolen. See, that's what I mean. There's a little bit of you know, room for tightening this up, and maybe it's just the pinging. He's gonna go ride. There it is. The bike's been stolen. And now we're gonna say find bike. And you can already start to see the dots appearing. So it's not like a line or dashes or anything, but oh, there it is. See the second one come up? It's kind of cool. And then I think you sort of have to, I suppose you just zoom in on it and figure out where on the map that was, and then copy and paste it into some other, oh, there, look at that. He's going around the block or something. Copy and paste it into some other application, like Google Maps or Waze or Apple Maps or something, and then you could hop in your car and try to hunt it down. As it stands, like, I don't think this map shows me like where I am relative to the other thing. So I feel like you'd have to switch back and forth between apps. It'd be kind of cool if it showed like, here's the phone, because remember, I'm like right here. I'm like back where we started. And now Cam's he's way out there now. And all my stats are messed up right now. You can see today I've gone 266 miles according to this app, but that's because I had the tracking on. Oh yeah. Nice, dude. It worked out. Check this out. I can show you the little dots. I closed the screen, so there are only 3, but
oh, right on.
You can kind of see where it is. I was just talking about how it'd be nice to see where I am, like where my phone is, so I could see like how close I am. They said this tracks to within 9 feet. So, you know, if it's within someone's backyard, you got kind of a 9 square feet. So yeah, you can see the stats are a little bit off here, the calories and the carbon and everything. And that's because I had it on auto start here. So if I go into the settings right here and then I say auto start, I'm going to turn that to off, and that will make it, there we go, so that the thing isn't just tracking the whole time. And it's nice that that can only be controlled by me. I don't think that has anything to do with the boomerang itself. Even if it's reset, it's still tied to me and my phone. So you've been instrumental in this review. I really appreciate the time lending your bikes to test this and doing some excellent camera work there. I appreciate that. So, we've got the boomerang here in front of us. It's really interesting. Did the demo a minute ago where, there's the fake bike theft. What does that feel like? The criminal's potentially taking it. It's beeping a little bit. This is certainly something I'm not used to seeing on bikes at the bike rack. But how does it actually perform in practice? Like, that's a big question mark for me, because there's this big button right on top, like this big rubber button, and you're like, well, what is that? It's right on the top next to all these blinking LED lights. By the way, that means it's being tracked right now, the little bullseye. Well, it's a reset button. So if you were a savvy thief and you knew what this was, you could just come up to this, press the reset button like that. Now the alarm's not going to go off. Like, you could take the bike, and there's also another reset button on the side right there where you charge it. I'm going to try to peel it. This thing is kind of a pain. Now, there's one beep because it's like resetting. There's the little micro USB. They should have put the on-off reset switch stuff, that should be on the bottom. By the way, there isn't an on-off switch on this thing. It's always tracking, and I think that's part of the beauty of it. Even if someone reset this, they took your bike without you getting the text notification, without any beeping happening, it would still be tracking in the background. It gives them more time to run over to Harbor Freight and buy a star wrench and take this off and throw it in the bushes or something. Right. But, it kind of defeats part A, right? The first thing is it's got a motion detector, it's an alarm, it texts you, awesome. And then the other part is it has radio, like wireless Verizon signal, and it tracks it, and you can hunt it down, and that's cool. You really can't turn it off. That's always going to be happening. I guess coming back to that first piece, the alarm, I'm in practice, like, I haven't actually used this to commute using a bike rack or something, but bikes get bumped all the time at the bike rack. You got your bike parked there and someone's like, oops, and then it's like beep, and you're in class and you're like, oh man, my bike's getting stolen. Like, that isn't the best feeling in the world. And then after a couple times of that happening, you're like, oh, it's a false alarm. No worries, don't worry about it. It's just someone bumped it at the rack. And then that's the one day your bike actually gets stolen. Right. And it's like, this thing happened, it beeps, and then you got to be like resetting it and relocking it, because it only does once. And then the beeping, as you saw with the little demo skit, it beeps for a couple seconds, and then that's it. So those are some of the areas of possible improvement. Do most thieves know what this is? Probably not. Are they going to choose another bike that's not beeping and stuff? Probably. That's all great. But, this is $200, and you're spending monthly to get the service. I'd definitely like to see them improve. Put the reset button on the bottom so the thief has to unscrew it to hit the reset. That kind of stuff. And even some of the tracking, it's just a little wonky. This thing sends out like a ping where it's like, here I am. Okay, you're safe. Here I am. And it's like every, I don't know, half a minute or a minute or something like that. It's not super immediate. So even when I arm this thing, if I get the app going, and now I'm going to go back here and say set alarm. So notice that whole time that we're talking about this thing, messing around with it, the alarm was set. It's just it already went off. So now it's like, oh, it went off. That's good luck with that. So set alarm, slide to activate. Whoop, there we go. And now we're just gonna look at this for a minute here. See how there's like a yellow light there on the gear? We're waiting for a red light on that lock. So imagine you're locking your bike. You're at the bike lock. You're fumbling around with it. It's all locked. You're getting ready to go to class or work or whatever. You're waiting. And you're waiting. You're waiting for it to lock. It's just kind of like, I'm not trying to hate on these guys. I think it's because the signal needs to go up and come back. And to be fair, this isn't one of those cheaper systems where, it's Bluetooth and it relies on crowdsourcing and all this stuff. You have to be within, 20 feet or whatever. With this, you're good. Like, as long as you're Verizon coverage or whatever, because they have the international version, you're good. But it still hasn't happened. The lock still hasn't turned red. So like, you're like, is it working? Am I low on the battery? There, it just turned red. It just turned. So that's how long it takes, at least, because I might have set it like halfway through a cycle too, the up and down cycle. No, there we go. Now we set the alarm off. We set the alarm off. Let's listen to it for a second. Okay, that's it. That's the full alarm. Now let's get the phone. Look at that. Your bike is being stolen as you read this. That's an awesome message, to be honest with you. You know, again, you're in work and you're like, something's happening. But I think that it's really just going to go off all the time at the bike rack, unless you park completely alone and there's no wind and there's no branches bumping the bike rack. And there's, like, I get it. I'm not, again, this is not hating on the product. It's just, there's a real conundrum. You need it to be sensitive enough that a thief is like, whoa, what's happening? But you don't want it to be so sensitive that it goes off all the time either. How do you differentiate between just normal vibrations? Maybe a truck goes by, like that annoying situation when you live in an apartment and car alarms are constantly going off whenever it happens all the time in New York. And yeah, so it's this suffers from that same thing. I guess I have to deactivate it and then activate it again. Like, let's say I look out the window, I'm like, oh, my bike's still there. I deactivate it, I activate it. I feel like you're gonna be doing that a lot. So that's another area of possible improvement for this thing. You know, and again, the size was another question mark. I think the first time we saw it, it was like, but that's huge. Like, what's going on with this thing? I wanted to see what was inside. And then, you know, I brought it to Cam, and he's like, what's inside that thing? So why don't we find out? You want to help? We take this thing apart? Let's do that. And while he's unscrewing it, this is the app. Okay, so we're already logged in. It just uses your last name and then your phone number, so that's cool. And then in the middle, we got Google Maps, and, you know, this week, how much have you used it? How far have you gone? Your last trips. I've done a whole bunch of trips because I've been driving with this thing. Kind of messing it up. It'd be nice if that button there was more of a, I'm going for a ride. Click. I'm done with the ride. You know, I'm driving to my aunt's house. Like, I don't want it to record that stuff and mess up all my stats, because the stats are cool. We can go into the trips here and we can click on it, and, you know, it shows the miles and everything in here. I think this might have been today. Speed, elevation, battery. If we go to this little icon right here from the homepage and grab this little thing here, and we just create a little circular map or whatever, like this. And this is really cool, because if you have a rental program, you're like, people shouldn't go outside of this zone, and if they do, I want to get a notification. I want to know, like, one of our bikes is walking away, or someone's having an emergency, we should check in on them. Those are all really cool features, and I feel like there's the start of something really special here. I know these guys are going to fix some of the minor things and dial it in even more, and, you know, even if there are some inconveniences or just the false alarms and stuff, maybe they give you some more controls where you're like, look guys, I don't like, maybe there's a way. Unfortunately, like, you'd have to set a little geofence every time you park the bike, but that would be a cool way to do it, where you're like, I don't want to be notified if the bike gets bumped at the bike rack, but I do want to be notified if it goes like 1 foot in any direction. That would be, then if it's beeping, like, I'm like, cool, definitely getting stolen. It's not going to deter the thief because they've already cut the lock and they're already going. And that's the other thing about this. It's like, this is really more of a deterrent, I think, than anything. What are you going to do when someone steals the bike and now you're like, oh, I've never been to this part of Compton or wherever, and you're heading down and it's like rough looking, and you know, then you get stabbed over your bike. I'm just speaking from my own experience. I would maybe talk to the police, but I've talked to the police before and they're like, yeah, good luck with that. Maybe if you had a GPS on your bike, they'd be more willing to go with you. Have you experienced that? Have you ever had a bike stolen, Cameron?
I've never had a bike stolen, but I've actually had customers have bike stolen, and you know, we try to do as much as we can to get those bikes back. For example, with electric bikes, there's a charger. So when you steal a bike, you don't have a charger.
Yeah.
So we'll get random phone calls. Hey, do you have a 48-volt charger? Well, what happened to yours?
Yes.
I lost it. Oh, okay, cool. You know, where did you buy it? I don't know. Well, all right. Well, yeah. Go to one of my dealers, and you'll be able to get
We've got some nice bracelets to give you.
So I think I want to say 2 months ago, there was a bike purchase from Sam, and the bike was stolen from a customer. And we ended up finding it on an app.
Oh.
And basically, we sent the information to the police, and the customer got their bike back.
Did they actually? The police did it.
The police did it.
I take it back. Police, great job. Maybe this is in New York or something. When I was hearing about, they didn't want to help.
Right, but we did spoon feed them. We gave them all the information. All the contact. So once they got all that information, they went. So
awesome. Okay.
It's great. Don't get me wrong. I hate stolen bikes, and this is a product that will deter that, which is great.
Yep.
But there's only so much you can do, and this is a great deterrent.
Okay. Well, now we're inside, and it looks like they just got a really long piece of PCB, printed circuit board. Maybe I don't see like an antenna going the length of the board. Like that was my first thought, was maybe it needs to be long because there's a big antenna. Like on phones, I think that it's like the top portion of the phone, like right along here in a lot of cases. This is their battery. You only get those 10 hours. Again, there's really no off switch. And so it's constantly needing to be recharged like every day. And then if you leave it on charge for a long, long time, it's like kind of resets the thing. And so that it's not as convenient in that way. Like you really need to pay attention to this thing. If you just put it in a drawer, I get the feeling it might stop. Hey, that might be the GPS.
Yeah, it looks like the GPS system there.
At the top.
Right.
In the future, it's like just get a smaller board and like pack this stuff in. I get the battery, so it's like
you at least need you at least need this much.
Yeah, you could maybe half this.
Right.
If you're really aggressive, and they got to keep the price down and stuff too. P.S. If you're working with this, be careful not to like have the electrostatic discharge touching the electronics. There's the micro USB. There's the battery connection. 5.18 watt hours.
Right.
What that says, 3.7 volts, 400 milliamp hours. Yeah, I don't know. What's this thing on the bottom? Maybe that's part of the antenna. I think it's a neat concept, and it's fun to see like what's happening in the space. It came with pretty good instructions, but I had no idea about this portal until I really started working with it. I didn't realize they had a separate site. It makes a lot of sense, and I think, I don't know, do you have any thoughts about this thing as just a third party?
I like the concept of it. I think it's really cool to have a GPS system that you can put on your bike.
Yeah.
If you are in an area where you do leave your bike, personally, when I ride my bike, I'm always looking at it. I have line of sight. Restaurant. If I don't have line of sight, I'm not going to stay there.
Yeah. You have nice bikes too.
Right. So that's it's one of the.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway. Will this definitely puts you above the weakest link, and that in and of itself is a lot.
Right.
I love the direction this is going. I love that it's a real GPS, that it has pretty good coverage, and we'll look for maybe some of the user experience pieces to improve in the future. For the full write-up on this, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. If you've heard of another product like this that you really like, feel free to chime in if you have some other thoughts. Maybe I'm missing something. I've tried to be thorough with this because it is a little bit more technical. I didn't find a lot of information out there before I got this myself. So, again, Cameron, I really appreciate you diving into this with me, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, likewise.